welcome to the Get Fit with Jodelle podcast. I'm, as usual, Jodelle, and today I have, as usual, we've done this a few times before, but I've invited back Ken Swartz from C60, and Ken is also known as Ken the Scientist. So we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty on the science of why C60 is coming up and people are starting to recognize the benefits of it. What is C60? We'll briefly touch on that because unless you've lived under a rock, you should know what it is by now because it's an amazing Nobel Prize winning substance. And we'll talk to Ken about just the benefits today, mainly of like skin and hair loss and how you can really reverse the signs of aging with C60, which is on a lot of people's minds, like how they can improve their skin tone, lessen their wrinkles. And I myself am going to have some things to talk about with regard to how C60 has helped me. So with no further ado, Ken is a research scientist and the founder and the chief science officer of C60 Purple Power. This is a wonderful company, a health and wellness company committed to delivering the highest quality C60. And even before I go on, I want to mention that just to be I guess you want to call it a guinea pig, I even bought another C60 from another company just to see if I could test out how much better or worse I noticed taking a completely separate company and taking it on. I noticed nothing. I didn't notice the brain cognition with this other company. I noticed nothing as far as improving my skin health. It was supposedly in a really good quality olive oil. It was supposedly 99.99% C60. And yet I was like, I got nothing. Like nothing is changing. Nothing is better. So then alongside it, I'm using my C60 on a little skin spot I have, and I'm noticing it getting smaller, and I'm noticing that the skin texture is better there. So anyway, that's an anecdotal way of saying that this is a high quality C60 that you're definitely going to not find anywhere else. At least that's been my experience. So Ken, welcome to the podcast again.
Oh, glad to be on today.
Wonderful. Well, you had been so kind as to send me the C60 Skin, which is like a little roll-on C60 product that we're going to talk about today and the benefits of C60 for the skin. But just briefly for people that haven't seen our previous podcast, can you explain C60 and how it became a Nobel Prize winning substance?
Well, C60 off is a little molecule, a 60 carbon atom shaped like a soccer ball. You can see it, it's in the screen behind me if you're listening or watching. And what it is, it was discovered in 1985. It solved a long-standing mystery in astronomy, but the discoverers got a Nobel Prize in 1996 in chemistry because it's sort of a unique molecule. It's a spherical shaped molecule, all of the same element, carbon, and it's shaped exactly like a little hollow soccer ball. And
is it found in nature naturally, or is it a man-made compound?
Oh, it's found in nature. Like the burnt wick of your candle is like 0.25% C60. Lightning strikes on trees, in some charcoals and stuff. So it's in very low concentrations. It's made by meteoritic impacts, so there's a lot of it on the early Earth. But to really get quality C60, you need to get you really need to buy it if you want to get to that 99.99%. And there's some things we can talk more about what you want to look for in a quality C60 product, whether it's from us at shopc60.com or it's from somebody else.
Yeah, because like I mentioned, I had bought that other company just to try it out alongside the C60 and see what I noticed. And your company is C60 Purple Power because it's purple. Now, this company was not. It was like a dirty brown color. And so tell me why that is. Tell me why a good quality C60 should actually be purple and not brown.
Well, when C60 is dissolved in like a clear fluid like MCT coconut oil, that's what we have here. It's purple. When you dissolve it in like avocado oil or olive oil, it turns up a dark amber, but it should still be clear.
Okay.
Yeah, it should
not
be
like
clear.
a dirty, dingy brown.
If it looks dirty, it's probably not. You're not getting the quality C60 because C60, the only type of C60 that works is dissolved C60. And so it's just when it's dissolved, the oil turns clear. Just like put sugar in water, it just dissolves away. It's the same process. Particles of C60, powderized C60, what they call quote water-soluble C60, which is just suspended particles. Those really have no health benefit whatsoever. And so you have to really know what it is. And why don't I just go over the three things you want to look for in a C60 product?
I think that'd be great.
Okay, the first thing, you want 99.99% pure,
Right.
and or 98, because what you want is you want sublimated or sublime C60. It's the same thing. If you remember sublimation, it's from your high school chemistry class. It's when a solid turns into a gas, back into a solid. It's kind of like evaporation. So when they purify C60 by that process, it gets to be like 99.99% or 99.98. It's very pure because it's like distillation. It's a very pure process. The problem is that a lot of C60, maybe most of it out there being sold comes from solvent purified. And they use methylbenzene, also known as toluene, which is a known carcinogen. Yeah. And so they dissolve, the C60 in production ashes, because it's kind of made basically to have carbon rods. You use high-powered electricity, turns them into powder inside of a helium atmosphere. And that's how you make it. And then you got like a little bit of C60 and a lot of this carbon waste. So what you do, the way you separate it, they use the solvent, and it dissolves. The C60 will dissolve in like in that toluene methylbenzene. Then they have to run it through diffusion columns, and then you got a bunch of C60 in the methylbenzene. Then they boil it off, and then they take the C60 that crystallize out of that, and they bake it in an oven again and again and again. But you can never really get out all the solvent, right? There's always a tiny bit left. So you always want to look for sublimated or sublimed C60. And that's like the first thing you want to look for. And usually that's 99.99%. Because if you see anything out there that's 99.9%, something that's supercharged, well, no, it's not supercharged. It's basically 0.1% solvent. And that's just more hype. Because that's, when the C60 market was small, everybody that made a quality product for their customers, because their family used it. It was great, right? But once it became popular, we have all these fly-by-nighters come in. They're going to make an easy buck by, putting out products with no C60, low concentrations of C60, low quality C60, you name it. It's just kind of like the CBD market went, after a while. So it's just one of those things. And then the other thing, you probably want to put it into a healthy oil. That's why we have it in olive oil, all organic, 100% olive oil. We also have it in avocado oil, organic avocado oil, and we also put it in MCT coconut oil. That's what this is. And MCTs, they're a distillate of regular coconut oil. So they're shorter chains. MCT stands for medium chain triglycerides. So they have short chain triglycerides, and your liver can turn that into ketones, which is a flex fuel for your cells. So if you have a glucose processing issue, you might want to think about getting the MCT coconut oil, C60 in that, because your cells can use ketones for fuel, or they can use glucose. And if you have glucose resistance or something, and you have a little bit of MCT, take a little bit of that, there's always going to be those ketones that your cells can run off. And athletes love it too, because you get the boost from the MCT from the ketones, and you get the C60 that reduces lactic acid buildup. Oh, and by the way, C60 is the only antioxidant that can improve athletic performance. So that's one. Oh, and then the final one is on the side of our boxes. Oops, something went running. We have, hopefully you can see this here. Oops, I'm gonna put it. It's a little QR code on the side of our boxes we send out. And you can just put your phone on it and pull it up, and you can see the certificates of analysis. Nice. Like you can see that the oil is 100% organic olive oil or avocado oil. You can see the concentration of the C60. It's 99.99% C60, right? You can look at the certificates analysis, and you can, and after our product is made in a good manufacturing practices, FDA-approved facility, we send it to third-party testers, and they test the C60 for concentration and for microbiologics, so your product is safe and effective. And we just wanted to do that to kind of differentiate ourselves. So from a lot of the people out in the market, we're not the only one that does that, but there's, if you want to look for sublimated 99.9%, put it in a healthy oil, because there's some people out there, they have like safflower oil or sunflower oil. And those are those high omega-6 ones that are saturated. In fact, you shouldn't be eating any of those oils, like canola oil or soybean oil. Those are like very bad for you, great for birds, bad for you. So they shouldn't be in diet. And also, we also don't put it into some oils that are healthy for you, like fish oil or krill oil or hemp seed oil or flaxseed oil, right? Those are really great healthy oils because they're super high in omega-3s, Only problem is they go rancid really quickly. So you should always buy them. So if we put it in a bottle, send it to you, it would be rancid maybe by the time you got there, or on the shelf for a month, right? In fact, that's something, if you ever, just as just a side thing, if you're ever going to buy fish oil or krill oil or hemp seed oil or flaxseed oil, buy it out of the refrigerated section of your health food store.
Right.
Because if you buy it off the, you don't know how long it's been on the shelf. Chances are it's rancid. So just buy it from the refrigerated section, then you know it's safe.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned the safflower and the sunflower, because even in healthy, food products, it's touted as like, oh, this is an organic tortilla chip made with sunflower oil. And I'm trying to tell people, no, that's a polyunsaturated fat that will inhibit your thyroid. It's a rancid oil. It can stay on the shelf for years and years and years. And anything that can last that long, you don't want. You want everything to be fresh. So I really love that you guys have done your research on oils, and it's something that we can trust. Now going towards the skin aspect. So like I mentioned, I was sent the C60 skin, and I already had some of the C60 Sexy that I would just use as a skin product. But I really liked that it was a roller ball, number one. And so I was able to put it on like specific areas. And in fact, one thing I wanted to mention outside of just putting it on your face and seeing less wrinkles and seeing more smoother skin and stuff like that, because I definitely noticed that. But I had a burn. One day I was, getting something out of the oven, and you get that little burn on your wrist from touching the oven pan. And I was like, and immediately I thought, okay, right away, I'm going to put C60 on this. Like, I just know how anti-inflammatory it is. Number one, the pain went away within like 30 minutes. Like the pain was gone. And you know how when you burn yourself, it's just like kind of lingers, that burning pain just kind of lingers. It was gone. And the burn actually healed up within like 4 days. Like it would have been that burn where I'm going to have a scar. In fact, I have an old scar from a burn on my forearm from the same thing. And this actually went away within 4 days. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that it's actually definitely doing something. And the roller made it so easy to put it right on that little burn. The second thing I wanted to mention was my daughter got blisters one day with these new shoes she had on. And she wouldn't let me do anything to it. But I said, I have this little roller, and it's going to make the pain go away of your blister. So we're just going to roll it on there. So she let me do that because I promised her it wouldn't sting. It was just an oil. And she was amazed. She's 8. And she was like, about an hour later, she's like, Mom, my blister is like better. Look at it. It's not even hurting me, and it's better. And then the next day it was like gone. Like there was just a little red dot where the blister had been. And I've never seen anything do that before. So maybe you can talk to us about that.
Oh yeah, that's C60 is great topically, and that's what, in fact, the first human research, is they had Japanese women, and they had C60 a cream, and they found that the cream would reduce lines and wrinkles in Japanese women. So that was the first one. And then another topical was they rubbed it on hair, and it increased hair growth. And it would bring back hair growth where if you lost your hair because of something besides male pattern baldness. Sorry, guys, that's a genetic thing. It's not going to change. It'll slow down maybe your hair loss, but it won't bring it back. Yeah. And that's just the topical uses of that are really great. Yeah, we use it for sunburns. If you get a sunburn, you put it on, and the swelling, the pain will go down, and you usually don't peel. And they actually did a test on how C60 can help protect against UV radiation. Even with C60, you should probably still put sun cream on, because if you're out in the sun a long time, you have fair skin, you're going to get burned regardless. But they had like human skin cells, because you can't really do tests on people. That's not ethical. Right. But you can do it on the skin cells in the test tube. So they basically had one set of human skin cells they gave C60 to. The other set they didn't. They exposed them to UV light, basically sunburning them. And the cells with C60, they didn't get damaged. So so C60 is really good with skin and UV light, or if you get the sunburn, put it on, you'll find it heals up much quicker, just like you experienced.
Yeah, and it's so nice to have it in a convenient little thing, because like I'll do it around my lips too, and those little tiny fine line like wrinkles around your lips, they smoothed out. And it's just nice to have, like I told you I have a little spot on my leg that's like a little skin spot of like, maybe it's like a little carcinoma or something. But I just keep putting C60 on it, and it keeps getting better. Now, when I don't, if I forget, then all of a sudden it like maybe gets a little flaky or something. But when I put it on there, it keeps getting better. So it's almost like, has it healed it completely? No, but it's preventing it from getting worse. So I I really like the convenience of it. I can travel with it. I can use it when I'm short on stuff to carry with me, like little moisturizers and stuff. But then also you actually see results with it. I have a client that was playing around with it, and the more she put it topically on her eyebrows, the more her eyebrows started to grow back because she had lost quite a few eyebrows.
C60 makes hair grow better, and eyebrows are part of that.
Yeah, so people could actually put it on. In fact, there is a company, now I don't know what C60 they use, but they put the C60 in their hair product. It's a very expensive. Yeah, it's a very expensive.
That's the Zero. Yeah, we know Jay Campbell, who started the Zero, and we actually helped develop the formula.
So do they use your C60 in their product?
No, they don't. They get the C60 probably from the same source.
Okay.
But we taught them how to make C60 products, and because we know Jay, and so yeah, and then so you have the C60 product, which makes your hair grow better, helps the skin, and then they have that copper peptide.
Yes, yeah.
And for guys that are with male pattern baldness, that copper peptide is the thing that pushes it to come back a little better. So yeah, that's a Zero, and that's Jay Campbell, the testosterone optimization therapy guy.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You were able to call them out and say they actually have a good product, because I keep seeing people talk about it, and I was like, wonder if they're even sourcing like a good C60.
Oh, yeah.
But definitely there's research out there, because like when you look up research on C60, a lot of what pops up is related to skin. Yeah.
Yes, and also what sites you want to go to is there's a website, whatisc60.org. And basically, because we can't post animal studies, we can only post human related studies, and then there's other studies out there. So our company and a couple other companies sponsor this website, which is whatisc60.org. And so there you have lists of all like the human studies, the animal studies, and then the good and the bad studies. Because as I mentioned before, only dissolved C60 has any health benefits. Particles of C60 don't have any health benefits. It can be inflammatory. And so people might say, oh, this study says C60 is bad. Well, as particles, it is bad. I mean, like, look, it's silica. Dissolved silica is really important for your health, for your teeth, for your bones, hair. It's a necessary nutrient, but it's dissolved. Whereas, glass has silica in it. But if I was to grind up a bunch of glass into little tiny particles and give it to you, you'd have negative effects for obvious reasons. And it's the same with C60. It needs to be dissolved to be effective.
Yeah. What about acne? Have you seen people have a reverse in kind of hormonal acne, maybe around the chin or the jawline with C60?
Yes, we get, we've had in kids too. They use it topically or internally, and they definitely get improvement in their acne. And probably a couple of reasons for that. Of course, the other thing we always want to talk about them is diet. As we mentioned, remember those nasty omega-6 oils? That's one of the biggest causes of acne, is they're eating these really bad foods. Well, they're kids, right? They like, it tastes really good, but it isn't good for you. And so, you eat those fried foods, and then they end up on your face. So that's also a little bit more training that needs to go with it. But yeah, C60 definitely helps with acne and associated things.
Yeah, I always love when you go that route and you mention that it's not just, magic C60. There's so much that goes into it. And when I build a protocol for someone and I can really see that C60 is going to benefit them, I want them to do the nutrition aspect, the lifestyle aspect, but the C60 is going to take the edge off of like, helping with digestion, helping with energy in the morning, giving their brain cognition to make good decisions around food. So they really go hand in hand. And that's why I've yet to find anybody that doesn't benefit in some way, because like in other podcasts, we've talked about how you can swish with it to improve teeth health. You can take it internally to improve gut health. You can notice more energy in the mornings. And I use it as a pre-workout because it's one of the better pre-workouts that I've ever taken. In fact, I will say it's the best pre-workout I've ever taken, because it's this natural energy. It's not this synthetic jittery energy.
Yeah, and that's also one thing if you're working with like fungal problems. The MCT oil, just the MCT oil itself, not the C60, is incredibly, anything with a cell wall. That's bacteria, fungal, and even plants. In fact, I found that once I was moving some buckets around of MCT oil, and they didn't have any C60, and they dumped out, some of it spilled out on my lawn. wiped out where it landed. It's like the
Wow.
greatest weed killer ever because anything with cell walls. So if you got like a fungal problem and you put the MCT coconut oil, even without C60 in it, it'll wipe out that fungi. And especially like people get the toenail fungus.
Yeah.
You just soak your toes in like MCT oil for several days, every day often, that MCT will get into and wipe it all out. And then once it's in there permanently, you know, because you just keep soaking it, it prevents any reoccurrences. That's just one of the benefits of MCT oil, besides turning into ketones by your liver and a second energy source.
Yeah, absolutely. The MCT is another one of those things that just has so many medicinal purposes outside of just the idea of being good for ketones, like you said. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't olive oil, like a really good quality olive oil, isn't it closely related to our skin's own natural oil? Like, isn't one of the oils out there that really matches our own kind of composition?
It's close. It's close. Avocado is the same way, but also that olive oil has those polyphenols. And that's the bite. Like you do the extra virgin olive oil, you go, oh, yeah, that's polyphenols, and that's another useful antioxidant. And also the oil kind of balances out. You know, they found that there was some people eating like a lot of butter. There can be some like down consequences, but if they matched it with an equal amount of olive oil, no consequences at all. So match your butter with olive oil and in the diet, and you don't have to worry about animal saturated fats. Works with other animal fats too. So yeah, always, having olive oil with your meat or butter is a great idea.
Yeah. And like I said, I love the aspect of the pre-workout feeling and just the energy you get from it taking in the morning. I've had many clients that have said, wow, it was so hard for me to get going in the morning, and C60 helps me do that. But I also like the product that you have called C60 Sexy, where you can use it topically, you can use it intimately. And so maybe you want to talk about that, because I actually use that one as even a little bit of a body cream. And then I do even take that one orally too. I put that under my tongue and swish it around, and it helps with I feel like my teeth are less sensitive when I do that.
Oh yeah, it has a little pusher top here that brings it out, and it's pretty convenient because of that, and of course it's a edible massage oil. But it's pretty much our avocado oil product, and packaged usefully. And it just has it's just a great benefit for any of that. You know, all the oil's great, and then the C60, it really brings that benefit up, especially, and you get a lot of absorption through your, what do you call those membranes in your mouth, the mucous membrane, whatever it is. Yeah. I'm trying to get that word escaping me.
The buccal system too.
Whatever. Yeah, it'll absorb sublingually. It's the same sublingually absorption. So a lot of people do that, and that's one of the things. If you swish around, people just have incredibly much better gum health. That's another thing. Like, you should never, ever, ever use mouthwash, because mouthwash kills the good bacteria and just promotes the growth of bad bacteria. Because the bad bacteria grow really, really fast, like weeds. Where it takes a while for good bacteria to grow, like a forest, right? So if you just keep killing it off with the mouthwash, you will have gum problems. But if you use something like C60, and Ayurvedic oil pulling has been used for thousands of years, I guess, and it's really been effective. But when you put C60 in it too, it just makes it better. So just little kind of tips. Well, by the way, I'm not a medical doctor. I can't get medical advice. I'm a research scientist. But I have figured out a few things from my own personal experience.
Sure. We're just getting N=1 advice here of just some tips and tricks you can try if you want to, right? And and I always like to just say what I experience on it. And that's what I've noticed too, is I use it just to swish around with. I was having really sensitive teeth. Like, I would eat something cold and you know how it hurts your teeth. And once I started swishing with that, I wasn't anymore. So, and I almost feel like I was even getting a little bit of recession of my gums, and it stopped after I started swishing with that and just kind of letting it absorb buccally. You get the energy, you get the teeth health. I mean, it's a win-win. So why not? Now, one product of yours I haven't tried, and I know it's a big popular one right now, is the gummies. Can you talk about the gummies?
Well, yes, we came out with gummies. It took us a couple of years to get it. It's kind of hard because to get that much oil in a gummy, and usually when it sets up, it turns into a gooey. But we had a guy work with us, and so we have two. It's tart cherry flavor. We have one gummy. This has like 3 grams of sugar in each gummy, and there's about 2/3 of a serving. in each one of these. And so if you take two, but it's made in a whole organic coconut oil. So you get the benefit of like the coconut oil. So it's the people always say this is peps me up. So the energy, some people just take two of these for breakfast. And and so it's really good. And then also, but some people said there was a little sugar in it. So we came up with the sugar-free variety.
Oh.
Tastes almost the same, just as good. And it's monk fruit knallulose.
Nice.
And one of the things, but one of the problems with these are kind of hazardous. It's hard to eat just one or two.
Oh.
You have to be south restraint because it tastes so good. Yeah, they did a really great job in making these gummies. They just taste fantastic.
As a nutritionist, I always like steer clear of like putting people on gummies because I never think that they really are going to elicit the dosage or something that somebody needs in a gummy form. But have you found that these gummies actually, people are noticing a difference on them and they're actually feeling the effects of the C60?
Oh yeah, they definitely feel it. They think it's even more effective way of getting into their bodies. And
really?
And so probably about two. For some people, one might be enough. If you're younger and you're fit and you're not too big, one would be enough. For most people, about a 1.5. For me, and or two, maybe probably two, just for most people. For me, maybe I do 3, but that's because I have a little gray hair. So and that's what really C60 is. It's an antioxidant, but it replaces 2 oxidants you can't supplement for. One is SOD and catalase. And it also does part of the job of glutathione, which is also hard to supplement for. There's 2 oxidative radicals in the body that the body doesn't use as signaling molecules, and that's superoxide. And well, first off, what's oxidative radicals? What's oxidative damage? It's your body rusting. Literally, it's your body rusting. And what is it doing? It's punching holes in your cell's membranes, so things leak out that shouldn't or leak in. It's cross-linking proteins, so they don't work. It's damaging RNA and DNA. It's just it's rusting, damaging stuff. And so you don't want that. And so the number one oxidative radical that does that in your body, especially in your mitochondria, is superoxide. And that's an oxygen with an extra electron. So that would make things rust super duper fast, right? Especially inside your body. So SOD, C60 is an SOD mimic, so C60 takes care of that. And usually, as we get older, our cells provide less endogenous antioxidants to make them function. It just happens with age, and that's why you need to supplement. And we can supplement. There's 4 big ones that are kind of endogenous that your body kind of has to make, and you can't get it really out of foods, though you can supplement for one. One's CoQ10, right? You can supplement for CoQ10, and you should be, especially if you got some gray hair. That's a standard. Second one is glutathione. Now, you couldn't do glutathione before. You used to take precursors and stuff, but it was hard. Now they have some glutathione like liposomal, like Quicksilver makes a good one. So it'll get past because if glutathione gets in your gut, in your stomach, the acid's going to wreck it, right? So liposomal puts a little oil coating in there on top of it, so it gets through. But it's still a little bit hard to get to where it needs to go. And one of the jobs of glutathione is to take care of the hydroxyl radical. That's basically a water molecule missing an oxygen. That's a common and the second most damaging oxidative radical in your body. And C60 can take care of that. That's how it's a radiation protection. And so if C60 does that job, so the glutathione you have can do the other dozens of jobs glutathione needs to do. Because glutathione does a whole bunch of jobs, whereas SOD and catalase, they do pretty much particular with superoxide. So so that's kind of C60 fits that gap. And one of the biggest things people have is mitochondria dysfunction. And there's really been nothing to do with it because usually it's associated with SOD and catalase being low, and there was nothing to supplement it for, right? You can't do it. It has to be built inside literally the cell or the mitochondria. You can do precursors, but that takes a long time, not very effective, right? And so, but with C60 being a mimic, it goes past your gut barrier, goes past your blood-brain barrier. The cells pull it in through endocytosis. The mitochondria pull it in and know how to use it. I could go on for another half an hour on how it works in the mitochondria, but it just basically restarts your mitochondria. Those are little organelles in your cells that make ATP, the energy molecule for your cells. But mitochondria also make, like, another thing they make is like the precursors for RNA and DNA synthesis. That's important. And mitochondria also make pregnenolone, the precursor molecule for all the hormones. So when you take C60, it restarts those mitochondria, and then your hormone levels rise, but they rise everywhere. So you get like more sleep with the melatonin, you got more human growth hormone and a dozen other master hormones that are made in the pituitary hypothalamus complex. You got more, T3 and T4. And in the adrenals, you're going to get, they got glucocorticoids. They regulate blood sugar. There's also mineralocorticoids, which I should mention, by the way. If you're on blood thinners and you start taking C60, you need to consult with your doctor, because when C60 restarts the mitochondria, especially the ones in your adrenal glands, they're going to make mineralocorticoids, and that's what regulates your blood thickness to a large extent. And when those levels rise, then the underlying cause causing your blood to be thick goes away, and now if you're taking a blood thinner, it'll be too thin. So you need to consult with your doctor. Mm-hmm. And of course, in the adrenals, they also make the androgens, which then go out into the bloodstream, and depending who you are, converted into testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, right? That's just part of that. And we have examples for this. It's probably not as critical as the blood thinner, but like we had a 70-year-old guy, he's got a testosterone level of 325 is pretty low. And so the doctor gives him creams, he's up to like low 700s. So he starts taking our C60, and a couple months later, he goes in for his biannual testing, and his testosterone level is 1200. So his doctor takes him off the creams. Of course, another side effect for both men and women is with the C60 thing is C60 increases libido significantly in men and women. So if you have slow in that sector, C60 will get you back up and going.
That's so cool. No, I love that you mentioned the hormone aspect, because there was like a 6-month frame of time where I like didn't buy my C60, and I was just like, I'm just going to kind of like wean myself off some of my products and see how I do. And I just kind of like slowly wasn't all of a sudden, I slowly like went downhill a little bit, and my sleep started to suffer. My skin started to look like, my neck started to get like that 40-year-old like crepey thing going on. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. So all I did was add back in C60 after that 6 months, after I just kind of realized I needed it again, and everything went back to normal. So people could probably go back, if I told them what time it was during my podcast, and look at my face, and then look at my neck or whatever, and then look at it now when I'm using C60, and there's your answer. Like, I haven't done anything else. I don't go get facials. I don't do any other treatments. In fact, I don't even wear makeup. I just like to keep my skin fresh. So yeah, it's powerful stuff, because it's not just about skin. It helps your insides, it helps your outsides. And it's something that's so simple that somebody can just keep on hand. And instead of having 65 different supplements, you're just taking this one that's addressing so many different things. Like you mentioned, the mitochondria are little energy factories for our entire cells of our body. If we keep them happy, they're going to do a good service of our energy, our metabolism, our assimilation of nutrients. All of that's going to get better. So yeah. Yeah,
it just does. C60 so many benefits. And for people that are listening, I was working on a fusion reactor project. And what I did is C60 is super protective against radiation. Like, they give one set of rats C60, the other doesn't get it. They hit them with a fatal dose of radiation. The C60 rats live, where the control runs obviously die. And so when I learned that, I started taking it for protection from myself and my crew, because I'm responsible for them. We're all still around, by the way. But I kept taking it. About 7 months afterwards, I went into my eye doctor, and my drues, or dry macular degeneration, had disappeared. Wow. And then when I learned that, I helped my electrical engineer on the project. He had developed wet macular degeneration. Well, Gary Rodriguez, right? He had type 2 diabetes. Macular degeneration goes along with it. So he took about a tablespoon of MCT oil, C60 MCT oil, for a year. His wet macular degeneration went completely away, and his type 2 diabetes went subclinical. Wow. He's still got to watch his diet. He's still got to do all those other things. It's just now subclinical, and he doesn't need to take medicine for it, which is really good. And so that's kind of another benefit. And after that, that's kind of what started the whole C60 Purple Power company. I started making it for family and friends, and then alternative healthcare people started using it, and they liked it. And I, used to drive around, deliver it on the Front Range here. And then one day it got mentioned on the internet, and it blew up. Sales blew up. Everything went crazy, and it was like a nightmare for a year or two.